Elena Carter never thought a normal Tuesday in May could carry enough weight to rearrange the entire structure of her life. But May 22nd hit differently. The Atlanta sky was unusually clear, the kind of rare, bright morning that felt like a soft whisper from fate saying, "Pay attention, something is coming." At 38, Elena felt her life looping endlessly: wake up, work, home, dinner, sleep, repeat. Some nights, she'd catch her reflection in the bathroom mirror and wonder when she stopped feeling hopeful. Her mother used to say, "Life begins at 40. Elena wanted to believe it. She needed something to break the monotony. That morning, she pulled her 15-year-old Nissan Altima into the gravel parking lot behind the Carver Business Center. The car rattled when she shut the door, but it had never once failed her. Her husband, Ryan Hale, constantly pushed her to upgrade. "Everyone at work probably thinks you're struggling," he'd say, but the mortgage on their 3-bedroom condo in Southside Atlanta was already suffocating them. Taking on another payment felt like insanity. Inside the lobby, the building buzzed with typical corporate energy. Desks clicked, printers spat out papers, and the low hum of tired employees filled the air. Mr. Leon Curtis, the retired Army veteran turned security guard, sat at the front with his thermos and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. "Morning, Ms. Carter." He greeted warmly. "Did you catch that Falcons game last night? Reminded me of the '99 season pure magic." Elena smiled politely. She'd never followed football but always listened because Mr. Curtis lit up when he talked. She asked about his grandkids, and he proudly shared that the youngest now knew multiplication tables. "And my wife," he added with a tired grin, "is still stocking up the pantry like the world is ending. You remember the recession in '08, she keeps telling me." Elena chuckled. Her own grandmother, Louise Carter, still canned vegetables every fall, storing peaches, apples, okra just in case. Upstairs, the marketing department was already a whirlwind. Phones rang, people shouted across cubicles, the copier whirred nonstop. Shonda Miller animatedly explained a scene from The Wire to Serena Brooks, while fresh out of college Keisha Brown bragged about her boyfriend finishing a whole jar of her homemade chow chow. These little moments made the chaos tolerable. Elena stepped into her small glass-walled office, set down her bag, and glanced at the photo on her desk, her and Ryan on Hilton Head Island. Wind in their hair, smiles wide. That had been their last real vacation before mortgage stress swallowed them. Now Ryan came home late, colder, more irritable. Their lives felt like two planets drifting apart. She turned on her computer, filled her electric kettle, and spread out the quarterly report she had stayed up revising until after midnight. Her neatly manicured acrylic nails clicked over the keyboard. "Good morning, busy bee." The cheerful voice belonged to Marcus Dixon, her closest friend at work. He leaned on her doorframe holding 2 coffees. "I brought you fuel," he said. "Cinnamon cappuccino. Extra foam, your favorite." She smiled gratefully. "How'd you know I needed it?" "You always get that look when you've been up half the night fixing client numbers," he teased, setting the cup on her desk. But the moment barely had time to settle before Sable Jennings, the secretary with electric pink nails, burst into the room without knocking. "Ms. Carter, Mr. Davenport wants to see you." "Right now." He said, "It's urgent." Elena felt her stomach drop. "Is something wrong with the retail report? I don't know," Sable chirped. But he said, "ASAP." Marcus glanced at Elena's face. "Are you okay? I guess I'll find out," she murmured, smoothing her pencil skirt and straightening her blouse. Despite 8 years at the company, getting summoned by the CEO always felt like stepping into a firing squad. The executive floor was polished and intimidating mahogany furniture, abstract art, leather seating, everything screaming authority. Sable announced her, and Elena stepped into Mr. Charles Davenport's office, palms sweating. He looked up from his computer, offering a measured nod. Elena, have a seat. Her heart drummed loud enough she could hear it in her ears. I'll get straight to it, Davenport said, folding his hands. The board and I have been reviewing departmental performance, and we've unanimously agreed to offer you the position of head of marketing. For a beat. Elena thought she misheard. Head of marketing. Her ears filled with a roaring in the same way they had at Hilton Head, standing near crashing waves with Ryan holding her hand. I'm the new department head, she whispered. Davenport's stern expression softened faintly. Elena, you've been with this company 8 years. You know every corner of this department. Your campaigns consistently outperform others. Your retail account alone increased sales by 30%. He pushed forward a folder detailing her metrics numbers she'd never stopped long enough to admire. The promotion came with a 40% salary increase, quarterly bonuses, a company car, and a private parking space. Her hands trembled as she signed the appointment order. Walking back to her office, she felt weightless and terrified all at once. This could save them financially. They could breathe again. Maybe, just maybe. They could even revisit the idea of having a child, something she and Ryan once dreamed of, but shelved because money ruled their life. Marcus appeared at her door again. You look like someone told you the world is ending. I can't tell you yet, she whispered. But tonight diner, I'll explain everything. He grinned. You're killing me with this suspense. Carter. But Elena couldn't stay in the glow of good news for long. When she finally called Ryan, ready to tease him with a harmless joke, everything cracked. She told him she had something important to share. He jumped straight to, Did they fire you? I told you that project was too big for you. Elena froze. He'd never spoken to her like that. Not in 12 years. And then, without hesitation, he called her an idiot. Her heart stung. Something deep inside her shifted. The joke suddenly wasn't funny. He brushed it off moments later, saying he was in a meeting and stressed. But when Grandma Louise called, her warm voice reminded Elena what love sounded like. The old woman cheered loudly when Elena shared her promotion. See, I always told you. You're a smart girl, Grandma said proudly. Come this weekend. I'll bake your favorite apple pie. Elena promised she would. But when the call ended, the unease remained. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. Elena tried to get back to work, but her mind kept circling Ryan's sudden outburst. He'd always had a temper, but never towards her, never something so sharp, so belittling. The word idiot echoed in her head like a bruise she couldn't stop touching. She minimized her spreadsheet, rubbed her temples, and dialed his number again. The subscriber is temporarily unavailable. Unavailable. At noon. During work hours, Ryan worked at a car dealership. He answered his phone even during dinner if a client called. He never turned it off. The dread inside her deepened. She was staring blankly at her monitor when Marcus appeared at her door, holding a stack of printouts. He took one look at her face and set the papers aside. You're not okay, he said gently. What happened? Elena hesitated. Marcus had always respected her boundaries. But today, she needed an anchor. I made a stupid joke, told Ryan I was fired, and Marcus raised an eyebrow. And he snapped, called me an idiot. Marcus's expression shifted first shock, then anger. Elena, that's not normal. Not for any husband, let alone Ryan. I know, she whispered. And now his phone is off. Yes, Marcus exhaled slowly. Something's going on. Elena knew it too. Suddenly, the office felt too bright, too loud. The walls pressed in around her. I'm going home early, she finally said. I need to talk to him. Do you want me to drive you? Marcus offered. No, I'll be okay, but thank you. Mr. Davenport didn't question her request to leave. Big promotions come with big feelings. He chuckled. Take the afternoon. Elena, just don't forget the Monday presentation. She nodded, grateful. The May sun was unusually hot as she crossed the parking lot. She tried calling Ryan again. Still nothing. Maybe his battery died. Maybe he was underground. Maybe she tried to calm herself, but every explanation sounded weaker than the last. The drive home took 40 minutes, unusually smooth for Atlanta traffic. She rehearsed a dozen speeches along the way. Confront him gently, confront him firmly, or maybe don't confront at all. Wait, breathe, let the dust settle. But everything went silent the moment she stepped into the elevator, because inside was Miss Beatrice Jones, her elderly neighbor from the 5th floor, the building's unofficial keeper of gossip. Well, if it isn't Elena, Miss Beatrice said, clutching her grocery bag. Your husband was around earlier today. Elena blinked. Earlier when? Oh, honey. Around noon. I was just getting back from my clinic appointment. Saw him leaving your place. Elena's pulse thudded in her ears. Are you sure it was him? Of course I'm sure, she said, offended at the notion she'd mistake something so juicy. He looked dressed up, too, like he was heading somewhere important. But Ryan wasn't supposed to be home at noon. He was supposed to be at the dealership. He was supposed to be in a meeting. He was supposed to be anywhere except their condo. Oh, Elena mumbled. Right. Maybe he took the day off. Miss Beatrice continued rambling about a scandal on the 4th floor, but Elena barely heard a word. Her heartbeat drowned everything out. When the elevator stopped on her floor, she slipped out quickly, heading down the hall, willing her hands to stop shaking. She unlocked her door quietly. A faint woman's voice floated from the kitchen, and then Ryan's. Her breath caught painfully in her chest. She moved silently toward the sound. The voices sharpened as she reached the doorway. Are you sure she has no idea? The woman asked a younger voice, low and husky, casually confident. Absolutely, Ryan replied. Elena believes everything. 12 years, and she's never questioned me. Elena's vision blurred. 12 years, the woman laughed softly. Damn. That's endurance. You don't understand what Ryan said, almost proudly. Her grandma's brownstone in West End. That place is worth a fortune now. 3-bedroom, historic district. They don't make places like that anymore. And she's definitely inheriting it 100%, Ryan said. She's the only family. The old lady worships her. But Elena, she barely visits now. He chuckled. I made sure of that. Elena gripped the wall to stay upright. What if the old woman changes her will? The woman asked. She won't. Ryan said. I already handled it. Found a lawyer. Everything goes to Elena. And once she dies, I get half because we're married. The woman whistled. Smart? Ryan leaned in closer to her. Elena heard the shift in his voice. But the problem is, she's 83 and hanging on too long. What are you going to do? Wait forever, the woman teased. That's the beauty, Ryan murmured. My buddy Eric works at a rehab facility. Says elderly people die like flies there. No questions asked. If I suggest rehab for her, Elena will fold. It'll look like compassion. Elena's stomach turned violently. And if she doesn't agree, the woman asked. Then I'll push her, Ryan said casually. Convince her we need to sell the brownstone. Pay off debts. Get a new car. Start fresh. She's always stressed about money. She'll believe anything. And if that doesn't work, the woman pressed. I divorce her. Ryan shrugged. We split the condo. I lose a little. But not everything. Worst case, I wait longer. I didn't play loving husband for 12 years for nothing. The woman laughed, light and cruel. Elena felt her world collapse. Every memory, their wedding, the vacations, the late-night talks, the whispered promises now felt like props in a long-running play, and she had been the only one who didn't know the script. Suddenly, Ryan spoke again. You should go. She said something about work trouble, so she might come home early. Can she handle losing her job, the woman asked. Ryan scoffed. That cow can't even keep it together for 1 quarter. Of course she'd get fired eventually. Elena's breath hitched so loud she almost gave herself away. She moved quickly, slipping out the front door and down the stairwell, gripping the rail with trembling hands. She stumbled outside, gasping as the warm Atlanta air hit her face. Cars drove by, kids played nearby, dogs barked. The world continued as if Elena's entire reality hadn't just been ripped out of her chest. She sank into the driver's seat of her Altima, shaking so violently she dropped her phone twice before finally calling the only person who came to mind, Marcus. When he picked up, she couldn't hold back the crack in her voice. Marcus, I need you. Please. His tone shifted instantly. Where are you? In my car, near my building. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Marcus, she whispered. Yeah, thank you. Always, he said softly. Elena hung up, leaned her forehead against the steering wheel, and let the tears come. Her marriage was over. Her trust was gone. Her grandmother's life might be in danger, and she had no idea what to do next. The little diner near Northside Drive was half empty when Elena walked in. The overhead lights buzzed faintly, and the smell of frying oil and old coffee clung to the air. She chose a booth tucked in the corner somewhere dim, somewhere her heartbreak could stay hidden. Her hands shook as she wrapped them around the warm mug of tea the waitress placed in front of her. It didn't help. Her palms were slick with sweat. Every word she had overheard replayed in her mind like a broken record. 12 years she's believed it. She'll fold. She always does. The old lady is 83. People die like flies in that place. She closed her eyes, feeling a wave of nausea crash over her. How had she not seen it? How had she let herself love a man who didn't love her back? Not even for a moment. A soft voice broke through the fog. Elena. She opened her eyes to see Marcus standing there, chest rising and falling slightly faster than usual, worry etched deep between his brows. He slid into the seat across from her. What happened, he asked. Talk to me. It was like a dam broke. Elena told him everything, her rushed promotion meeting, the joke she made to Ryan, his explosion on the phone, Miss Beatrice seeing him home at noon despite him claiming to be in a meeting, and finally, the conversation she overheard in the kitchen. She told it in pieces, her voice cracking, sentences losing structure, but Marcus listened to every broken detail without interrupting. Occasionally his jaw clenched or his eyes darkened, but he never once tried to speak over her grief. When she finished, the silence between them was thick and heavy. Elena, he said softly, this isn't just betrayal. This is premeditated. He's been planning this for years. She wiped her face with trembling fingers. It gets worse. How could it get worse? He asked quietly. My grandmother, Louise. She had a sudden episode last year. The doctors weren't sure if it was a stroke. Ryan insisted on handling her medication. He took it to her every day. What if her voice broke? What if it started earlier? Marcus reached across the table and laid his hand over hers. Don't jump to worst-case scenarios yet. But everything he said fits, she whispered. He was there today. He told the woman he didn't know when I'd be home because I said I was fired. Then he said he needed to hurry before I got back. And then, Grandma collapses Marcus. I feel sick. He nodded slowly, processing, weighing each detail with calm logic. Then we go to her. Now. Elena didn't hesitate. Let's go. They drove through Atlanta's evening rush. The sky was turning orange, and traffic clogged every major road. Elena kept dialing her grandmother's flip phone, pressing the call button with trembling fingers. 1 ring, 2, 3, voicemail. She always picks up. Elena muttered, always. She sleeps with that phone next to her pillow. She never ignores it. Maybe she's resting. Marcus offered gently. No. No, this isn't right. They finally reached the West End, the old, historic neighborhood filled with brownstones that had been in families for generations. They climbed the stairs of Grandma Louise's building and stopped at apartment number 54. Elena knocked. Then again, louder. Grandma, it's me, open up. Grandma. The door across the hall opened. Miss Beatrice Jones, this building's version of a watchdog, peeked out in a bathrobe and slippers. You're too late, honey, she said gently. They took her. Elena froze. What do you mean? Took her? The paramedics. About an hour ago, she was conscious, though kept telling them not to lose her purse. Beatrice paused. Said something about someone trying to hurt her. Elena felt her body go cold. Did she call the ambulance herself? She asked. I don't know, Miss Beatrice said, but your husband was here earlier, around 2:00. Said he was checking on her since you couldn't come. Elena swayed on her feet. Marcus immediately grabbed her arm to steady her. Miss Beatrice continued, unaware of the storm she was fueling. Didn't seem like he stayed long. I was heading to the store, and when I got back, the ambulance was already outside. Scared me half to death. Do you know which hospital they took her to? Elena asked, her voice quivering. I think Grady. But you should call. Elena wasn't sure how she managed to thank the woman. Her ears were ringing, her vision blurred at the edges. Ryan had been here. Today. Minutes before her grandmother was taken away. When they reached the car, she collapsed into the passenger seat, clutching her head. He did something. She whispered, Marcus, he did something to her. Marcus squeezed her shoulder. Elena, we don't know that yet. Her breath came in shallow bursts, but the timing, the lies, the tea he brought, the nursing home plan, all of it fits. He nodded solemnly. Then we're finding out right now. He called Grady Memorial. After a 5-minute conversation with the charge nurse, he turned to Elena. She's there, he said, admitted with a suspected stroke. Elena closed her eyes. Tears didn't fall this time, they just burned. I need to see her. We will. They drove to the hospital, and Elena practically ran through the automatic doors. But at the reception desk, she hit a wall. I need to see my grandmother, she said breathlessly. Louise Carter. The nurse replied mechanically. Visiting hours ended 2 hours ago. I don't care. Elena said. Please, she might be in danger. My husband, ma'am, the nurse interrupted. I can't let you listen to me. Elena leaned in, desperation cracking her voice. Someone may have tried to poison her. If she's in danger, I need to... The nurse paused. Something in Elena's tone sliced through the protocol. I'll get the doctor, she finally said. A few minutes later, a woman in a white coat approached. Ms. Carter. I'm Dr. Evelyn Stone, the attending physician. Elena swallowed hard. Please, tell me she's okay. She's stable. Doctor, Stone said. But agitated. She kept saying someone tried to hurt her. Someone named Ryan. Elena's stomach dropped. Doctor, Stone continued. She mentioned being given tea before her symptoms started. Because of this, we've already ordered a toxicology panel. Stroke symptoms can be mimicked by certain substances. Elena didn't know whether to gasp or collapse. Can I see her? Just for a few minutes, the doctor said. If she's awake. They followed her down sterile white halls until they entered a dim ICU room. Elena felt her knees weaken as she approached the bed. Grandma Louise lay there, pale, fragile, wires snaking around her. Elena took her hand. Grandma, it's me. Slowly, those familiar eyes opened. Elena, the old woman, whispered, Thank God. I thought he'd come back. Elena's blood ran cold. Who, Ryan? Grandma. Louise nodded weakly. He brought tea, said you were busy. I drank a little, and everything went black. Elena leaned forward, tears spilling freely. I know. I'm here now. I won't let him near you. Her grandmother squeezed her hand faintly. You're my smart girl, but don't be foolish. He's dangerous. Before Elena could reply, Dr. Stone returned. I'm sorry. She needs to rest now. Elena kissed her grandmother's forehead. I'll be back tomorrow. Rest, please. When she stepped into the hallway, Marcus was waiting. One look at her face, and he knew. It's true, she whispered. Everything we thought, everything I feared. He gave her the tea. She overheard him on the phone. He planned all of this. Marcus's jaw tightened. Then our next stop is the police. And that's where they went. Elena and Marcus didn't leave the police precinct until well after midnight. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as they filled out report after report names. Times, conversations, every disturbing detail about Ryan's plan. The officer on duty took their statement seriously, especially when Elena mentioned that the hospital was running toxicology tests. We can't arrest him yet, the officer admitted. But if the lab confirms anything suspicious, we'll move fast. It wasn't satisfying, but it was something. By the time they stepped back outside into the cool night air, Elena felt drained to the bone. The city around them had quieted. Even Atlanta's usual late-night chaos seemed to have fallen asleep. Marcus unlocked the car. Elena, you're not going home. I know, she said softly, but I can't leave everything there. My documents, my laptop, clothes, and I need to look him in the eye. Marcus turned to her. Concern etched across his features. Then I'm coming with you. Wait for me downstairs, she insisted. Please, I have to do this alone. When he opened his mouth to argue, she held up a hand. If I'm not back in 30 minutes, call the police? He finally nodded. Okay, but be careful. I mean it. As they drove back to the South Side condo, Elena stared out the window. Watching the blur of street lamps streak by, her mind replayed everything her grandmother's trembling voice. Ryan laughing with Brittany, the cruel words he used to describe her. She'd been blind, but now she wasn't. When they arrived, the light in her unit was still on. Ryan was awake. Elena inhaled deeply, feeling her pulse pound at her temples. She stepped out of the car, leaving Marcus parked discreetly behind another vehicle, watching her with worry. In the elevator, she caught a glimpse of herself in the scratched mirror. Her mascara was smudged, her hair messy, her face pale. But behind the exhaustion, her eyes were sharper than she'd ever seen them. She wasn't the Elena from this morning. That Elena was gone. She tightened her grip on her keys as she approached the front door. Before she could unlock it, the door swung open. Ryan stood there. He was freshly showered, wearing clean joggers and a navy t-shirt, as if preparing to relax for the evening, as if nothing had happened, as if he hadn't tried to destroy her life. "There you are," he said sharply, instead of asking if she was okay. "I called you." "Why didn't you answer?" Elena stepped past him without replying. Ryan shut the door behind her. "Where were you out?" Elena said simply. "Out doing what you didn't tell me." She turned around suddenly, her gaze cutting through him. "Ryan, stop." He blinked, thrown off by her tone. "You didn't call me," she said evenly. "Your phone's been off all day. My battery died." He lied instantly. She didn't react. She didn't even blink. "Oh." "And about you being fired," he continued, trying to sound casual. "I didn't mean what I said earlier. I was stressed. I wasn't fired," she said. He paused. "What, I wasn't fired?" she repeated. "I was promoted. Head of marketing." Ryan's jaw slackened for a second before he forced a supportive smile. "Elena, that's great. Why didn't you just tell me? Why the stupid joke?" She took a step closer. "I wanted to see how you'd react, and you didn't disappoint." His forced smile faded. "I was busy," he said defensively. "And you know I don't like surprises." "You like plenty of surprises," she replied coldly. "Just not from me." Ryan's eyes narrowed slightly. "What does that mean?" "It means," Elena said, feeling heat rise beneath her skin, "I know everything." Ryan swallowed. "Everything? What the brownstone she said softly. "The will, Brittany, the nursing home, the tea, all of it." His face drained of color so fast it was as if the blood fled from him. "What are you talking about? I heard you," Elena said. "This afternoon." Every word. There it was. The truth dropped between them like a grenade. "You're insane." Ryan snapped. "You think I would ever—" "Don't lie," she cut in. "Not anymore. You said my grandmother was old. You said people die like flies in that place. You said I'd fold, that I'd always fold." Her voice cracked only slightly before she steadied herself. "But I'm not folding. Not this time." Ryan stared at her, panic beginning to sharpen his features. "Elena, you misunderstood something. You don't know what you think you know." "I know exactly what I know," she replied. Then she pulled her phone from her pocket. "And before you say another word, you should know. This entire conversation is being recorded. That was a lie." But Ryan didn't know that. He froze. Then his voice shifted frantic, cracking. "It wasn't my idea. Brittany pushed me. She said the nursing home thing she said. It'd be easy money." "Don't," Elena said. "I don't want your excuses." She walked to the bedroom and pulled out a small suitcase. She packed without hesitation documents, laptop, a few clothes, necessities. Each item she placed in the suitcase felt like reclaiming a piece of her life. Ryan appeared in the doorway, panic edging into desperation. "Elena, come on, let's just talk. We can fix this. I can fix this." "You can't fix 12 years of lies," she said without looking at him. "You're my wife. Not anymore." She zipped her suitcase. On the way out, she stopped in front of their framed wedding photo. She lifted it off the wall, slid out the picture, tore it straight down the middle, and dropped the pieces onto the table. Ryan flinched. "Elena, I'm leaving," she said simply. "We'll divorce." We'll sell the condo and split the money. You'll take care of the mortgage yourself now." He stared at her, speechless. She stepped toward the door, hand on the knob. Then she turned back slightly. "Oh, and Ryan?" He looked up. "I'm unemployed, Giselle," she said quietly. "Just like you wanted." She walked out and closed the door behind her. Marcus was waiting at the base of the stairs. When he saw the suitcase, he silently took it from her and loaded it into his trunk. Then he opened the passenger door for her. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. Elena inhaled deeply. The night air filled her lungs like freedom. "I will be," she said. "For the first time in 12 years. I will be." They drove away from the condo, leaving behind everything that had once defined her life. The city lights blurred like stars in motion, and for the first time all day, Elena felt something she thought she'd lost hope. Marcus lived in a quiet neighborhood just outside the city, a small, tree-lined street with identical townhomes and soft porch lights glowing like tired stars. When he parked in front of his unit, Elena hadn't realized she'd been silent for the entire ride. She had sat in the passenger seat, clutching her hands so tightly her nails dug into her palms. Her mind drifted from one emotion to another: relief, rage, disbelief, grief, and beneath everything, a fear that pulsed like a bruise. Marcus turned off the engine. "You don't have to talk," he said softly. "Just breathe. One step at a time." Elena finally exhaled, as if she'd been holding her breath since her grandmother collapsed. "I don't even know where to start tomorrow." "You already started," Marcus said, opening his door. "You walked out." He helped her unload the suitcase and followed her inside. His home was neat in a lived-in way: soft couch, warm lighting, a bookshelf near the window. A large gray tabby cat strutted into the living room, tail high, as if ready to interrogate the intruder. "I see you weren't lying," Elena murmured. Marcus smirked. "Meet Winston, the tyrant of the household." The cat meowed once loudly and then hopped onto the couch like he owned it. "Clearly." Elena managed a faint smile for the first time all night. Marcus set her suitcase down. "You can take the bedroom. I'll sleep on the couch." "Marcus, no, you don't have to do that. I insist," he said gently. "You need a door between yourself and the world tonight." She looked at him, throat tight. "Thank you." "You don't have to thank me," he replied. "I meant what I said earlier. I'm here." He stepped aside and let her move freely through the space. Elena headed into the bedroom, placed her bag on the neatly made bed, and sat down, staring at the floor. Her shoulders heaved once, then twice, and before she could stop herself, the tears came again, not the panicked tears from earlier, not the silent ones in the car. These were slow, exhausted tears, the kind that come when there's nothing left inside to hold. When she finally returned to the living room, Marcus had made 2 mugs of chamomile tea. He offered one to her without a word. She accepted it gratefully. For a while, they just sat there, listening to the low hum of the fridge and Winston grooming himself like the world outside didn't exist. After a moment, Marcus asked quietly, "What's your plan for tomorrow?" Elena wrapped both hands around the mug. "First, I'm going to the hospital. I promised Grandma I'd come back." "And the police?" "They said they'd follow up after the tox report." Her voice hardened. "They better." Marcus nodded. And then he asked. Elena hesitated. The question felt too big, too heavy. "I don't know," she admitted. "I don't even know where I'm going to live. The condo Ryan won't leave, and we have to sell it before we split anything." "You don't have to figure everything out at once," Marcus said. "You can stay here as long as you need." Her eyes softened. "Marcus, I don't want to be a burden." He shook his head. You'll never be a burden to me. Something warm fluttered in her chest, but she pushed it down. She wasn't ready for that, whatever that was. Not today. Maybe not ever. But it felt good to know she wasn't completely alone. She sipped the tea. You know, I should be devastated. 12 years of my life just gone. A marriage built on lies. She laughed bitterly. A romance fueled by greed over a property I didn't even think about. Marcus studied her face carefully. Elena, you loved him. Loving someone isn't a mistake. She looked down. But trusting him was... No, Marcus corrected. Trusting the wrong person isn't a flaw. It means your heart was open. It means you're capable of real love. And that's not something to regret. His words broke something open inside her, not painfully, but gently, like the slow cracking of ice after a long winter. She stared into her tea. I don't even know who I am without him. Marcus leaned back, arms folded behind his head. You're smart, strong, talented. You earned a department head position. You stood up to a man who manipulated you for over a decade. You protected your grandmother. And you walked away. Elena swallowed hard. Marcus continued. That's who you are. And honestly, that woman is worth a hell of a lot more than Ryan Hale ever deserved. His voice was firm, unwavering, like the ground beneath her feet steadying her in ways she didn't know she needed. She looked up, her eyes meeting his. Marcus, thank you for everything. He gave her a small smile. Always. It was getting late later than she realized. Exhaustion dragged at her limbs. I should get some sleep, she said quietly. Of course. Marcus stood. If you need anything at all, I'm right here. Elena nodded, then stepped into the bedroom, closing the door behind her. The moment she lay down, Winston scratched the door, meowing indignantly as if demanding to be let in. She let out a tired laugh and opened it. The cat marched inside, made a tight circle at the foot of the bed, and plopped down as if claiming the spot. Well, Elena whispered, running her fingers gently through his fur. I guess we're roommates. She lay back against the pillow. For the first time in a long, long time. The quiet didn't feel oppressive. It felt safe. And even though tomorrow would be painful facing doctors, police, legal decisions, Elena finally felt a sense of direction, a thin thread of strength pulling her forward. She closed her eyes. Ryan had destroyed her past, but he wouldn't touch her future. Not anymore. Elena woke the next morning to the soft weight of Winston curled against her feet and the pale glow of sunlight filtering through unfamiliar blinds. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then the memories hit sharp, jagged, flooding her chest with heaviness. Ryan's voice, Grandma's trembling hand, the hospital machines, the police reports. She sat up slowly, rubbing her face. Her phone buzzed with notifications, missed calls, messages, all from Ryan. She didn't open a single one. When she stepped into the living room, Marcus was already awake, dressed, a mug of coffee in one hand and his laptop open on the table. You feeling okay? He asked gently. She nodded. As okay as someone whose entire life imploded can feel. Marcus offered a sympathetic half smile. Coffee. Yes, please. He poured her a cup and slid it across the table. She wrapped her hands around the warmth. What's the plan? Marcus asked. Tone calm, practical. Elena inhaled deeply. Hospital first, then police, then, I don't know. We'll take it one step at a time. Elena looked up. Marcus, you don't have to come with me. You're right, he said. I don't. He closed his laptop, stood, took his keys off the counter. But I'm coming anyway. Elena's throat tightened. She nodded softly. The drive to Grady Memorial was quiet. Atlanta's morning traffic was thick, horns echoing from every direction, but inside the car was a silent bubble. Elena kept glancing at the clock. Each minute felt too long. When they finally reached the hospital and walked into the ICU wing, Dr. Stone appeared almost immediately. Her expression was more serious than last night. "Elena," she said, "I'm glad you came early. Yeah, we have the toxicology results." Elena's heart froze. Marcus stepped closer instinctively. Dr. Stone continued, "Your grandmother had an elevated level of a substance called digoxin. It's a heart medication, but in the wrong dosage. It can mimic a stroke or cardiac episode." Elena's stomach twisted. "Is she going to be okay?" "She's stable," the doctor assured. "We're treating her." But the amount she ingested was significantly higher than a therapeutic dose, meaning it wasn't accidental, meaning Ryan didn't just plan something. He did something. Elena felt her knees weaken. Marcus immediately steadied her with a hand under her arm. Dr. Stone pressed on. "Your grandmother mentioned tea given by your husband, correct?" "Yes," Elena whispered. "Then the police will definitely want to see these results." Elena exhaled shakily. "Can I see her, Doctor?" Stone nodded. 10 minutes. Inside the ICU room. Grandma Louise looked slightly better color returning to her cheeks, her breathing steadier, but she still looked fragile. Too fragile for the world Elena had dragged her into. "Grandma," Elena whispered, taking her hand. Her grandmother's eyes fluttered open. "Baby girl, you came." "Of course I came." Louise swallowed weakly. "Did you talk to the police?" "Yes," Elena said. "And the hospital ran tests. They found the medication in your system." The old woman blinked, sadness filling her eyes. "I trusted him." "Because you trusted him?" Those words cut deeper than anything Ryan had said. "I'm so sorry," Elena whispered, squeezing her hand. Louise reached up, brushing Elena's cheek with trembling fingers. "No, this isn't your fault. Evil hides well, even in people we love." A tear slipped down Elena's face. Louise continued, "But listen to me. You have to live. Elena, don't let this drag you down. Don't let him take more than he already has." "I won't," Elena said, voice cracking. "I promise." A nurse stepped in. "Sorry, time's up." Elena leaned down and kissed her grandmother's forehead. "I'll be back later. Rest. I love you." "Grandma, I love you too, baby girl." Outside the ICU, Marcus slipped an arm around Elena while she composed herself, ready for the precinct. She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Let's go." They returned to the police station with the toxicology documents in hand. The officer who had taken their statement the night before glanced through the results, and his expression hardened. "This changes things," he said sharply. "We'll open a full investigation into attempted homicide. We'll take this very seriously." Elena's breath shook, part relief, part fear. "What happens now?" she asked. "We'll interview the suspect," the officer said. "We'll also request access to your grandmother's medical records. And with her statement, we can push for an arrest warrant." "Will he know it was me?" Elena asked quietly. The officer softened his tone. "He'll know the investigation is happening. But you're protected. And if you're afraid, we can help you file for protective orders." Elena felt Marcus's presence beside her steady and solid. "Do it," she said. When they stepped outside, sunlight warmed her face, but she felt cold on the inside. Marcus guided her toward the car. "You okay?" "Not really," she whispered. But I'm here, and that counts, he said. They drove back toward his place, and halfway through the ride, Elena's phone buzzed again. Ryan's name flashed on the screen. She let it ring until it stopped. Then it buzzed again, and again. Finally, a text notification popped up from Ryan. "We need to talk. Call me back. Now." Another followed. "I know where you were last night." Then, "Don't make a mistake you'll regret." Elena stared at the screen, a chill running through her. Marcus saw her expression and tensed. What did he say? She handed him the phone. His jaw clenched. "He's trying to intimidate you." Elena swallowed hard. "Marcus, what if he tries to come here?" "He won't get close," Marcus said. "But we're not taking chances." When they reached his townhouse, he checked the locks, adjusted the security bar on the sliding door, and even moved Winston's food bowl to a quieter corner so the cat wouldn't get startled by outside noises. Elena watched him, a strange mixture of gratitude and ache blooming in her chest. He finally turned to her. "I'm not going to let him hurt you." "I know," she whispered. She felt safe here, safer than she'd felt in years. But safety was not the same as peace. Peace would come later. Right now, she needed strength. She needed clarity. She needed justice. And for the first time since the nightmare began, she believed she could get it. She wasn't alone. Not anymore. Elena spent most of the afternoon pacing Marcus's living room, unable to stay still. Every time her phone buzzed, she jumped even though she wasn't answering anything that came from Ryan. Each missed call, each new voicemail notification felt like a hand reaching through her past and trying to drag her back into darkness. Marcus watched her carefully from the kitchen. He didn't hover, didn't push, just existed close enough that she could feel steadiness radiating from him whenever her anxiety crested too high. Around 3 p.m., the police called. The moment Elena saw Detective Hartwell on the caller ID, she froze. Marcus stepped beside her. "Answer it. I'm right here." She pressed the phone to her ear. "This is Elena. Ms. Carter," Detective Hartwell said, his deep voice firm and no nonsense. "We spoke this morning regarding your grandmother's toxicology results. I'm calling with an update." Elena's stomach tightened. "Yes. We contacted Mr. Ryan Hale at his place of employment. He wasn't there. Of course he wasn't. Ryan never worked a full day when he could manipulate a situation instead. We then attempted to reach him by phone." The detective continued. "He declined to come in for questioning." Elena gripped the phone harder. "However," Hartwell added, "due to the medical evidence and your grandmother's statement, we have secured a warrant to detain him for further investigation." Marcus straightened immediately. "That's good," he mouthed. But the detective wasn't finished. "We dispatched officers to your shared residence," he said. "He wasn't home." Elena's pulse quickened. "Then where is he?" "That's what we're working on. In the meantime, you need to stay somewhere secure, preferably with someone you trust." Elena's eyes flicked toward Marcus. "I'm already with a friend," she said. "Good. Stay there. And do not under any circumstances meet with Mr. Hale alone. If he contacts you again, document everything. If he shows up anywhere near you, call 911 immediately. I will." Elena promised. Just before hanging up, the detective added one last thing. "And Miss, Carter, be careful. Men like him don't react well when they lose control." A chill swept down her spine. When she hung up, Marcus asked quietly, "They didn't find him?" She shook her head. "They have a warrant, but he's gone." Marcus's jaw tightened. He grabbed his keys. "We're going to get new locks. Now." "Marcus, I'm not going back to that condo I'm talking about here, he said firmly. I'm not taking chances with you under my roof. The hardware store was only 10 minutes away. Marcus bought a new deadbolt, an additional chain lock, a portable door jammer for the bedroom, and after Elena hesitated, pepper spray. I hate that this is necessary, she whispered. I know, he said, but necessary doesn't mean forever. When they returned, Marcus changed the locks in silence, the metal clicks echoing through the house. Elena stood nearby, hugging her arms tightly around herself. Winston sat on top of his cat tree, watching Marcus work like a tiny, judgmental supervisor. Finally. Marcus wiped his hands. There. No one gets in unless we say so. Elena exhaled shakily. Thank you. But the tension hadn't left her body. It just lingered in quieter corners. By evening. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't want to look, but she forced herself to. A new message. From an unknown number. Unknown. You didn't think I'd just disappear, did you? Elena's blood ran cold. Marcus, she whispered. He was at her side in a second. What is it? She showed him the text. His entire posture changed, shoulders rigid, eyes dark. The quiet, steady man suddenly looking like someone who would gladly stand between her and a moving car if it came to that. He's using another number, Marcus said. Block it? Before she could, Another message came. Unknown. You're making a mistake. Talk to me. You owe me that. Owe him? Marcus snarled. He tried to kill your grandmother. Elena's hands shook as she blocked the number. But the dread stayed. What if he shows up? She whispered. He won't get in, Marcus said. And even if he comes near this house, I'm here. Elena, he's not getting past me. She hadn't realized how desperately she needed someone to say those words. Around 10 p.m., there was a sudden knock at the door. Elena froze. Marcus instantly stepped in front of her, motioning her to get behind him. Winston's tail puffed up, the cat hissing toward the entryway. Marcus placed a finger to his lips. The knock came again, 3 sharp, insistent hits. Elena, a male voice barked. Open the damn door. Her breath caught. It was Ryan. Marcus whispered, Go to the bedroom. Lock the door. No, she whispered back. What if Elena? Go. She did. She moved quickly but quietly, slipping into the bedroom and locking it, heart pounding like thunder against her ribs. Outside, she heard Marcus's voice steady, firm, calm, like he was facing down a storm. Ryan Hale. He said loudly through the door, Leave right now. This is my wife's house, Ryan yelled. You don't get to block me. She's not here, Marcus lied easily. And even if she were, she wouldn't open the door. You think she wants you? Ryan spat. You think she's in there crying on your shoulder like some damn hero story. She's my wife. She belongs with me. Elena covered her mouth, tears threatening but not from love, from rage, from shame finally releasing its grip, from the clarity that she had spent 12 years giving her life to someone who had never seen her as a partner, only a possession. Marcus didn't raise his voice, Miko, but every word was sharp steel. She doesn't belong to you, he said, and she will never be alone with you again. A loud thud slammed against the door. Ryan shoved it with both hands. Open this door, Marcus. I swear to God, open it or sirens cut through his threat. Ryan paused. Then footsteps. Running. Police. Officers. Ryan shouted, They locked me out of my own house. But the officers weren't there for Marcus. Ryan Hale, one of them barked, Hands where we can see them. You are under investigation for attempted homicide. No, wait. This is a misunderstanding. My wife? My family? Turn around. Hands behind your back. Elena cracked her bedroom door open just enough to see two officers cuffing Ryan on the doorstep while he struggled and shouted. Marcus stood still, arms crossed, gaze cold as ice. As the officers led Ryan away, he caught sight of her, just a sliver of her face behind the cracked door. Elena, he screamed. This isn't over. You hear me? This isn't. The car door slammed shut, cutting off his voice. Elena stood frozen. Marcus closed the front door gently, then turned to her. It's over for tonight, he said softly. You're safe. Elena stepped into his arms without thinking. For the first time in 12 years, she felt what safety truly meant. Not silence, not endurance, not loyalty out of fear, but being held by someone who actually meant it when he said, I'm here. Elena barely slept. Even after the police cruiser pulled away with Ryan in handcuffs, even after Marcus double-checked every lock in the townhouse, even after Winston curled against her hip like a warm breathing weight, her mind wouldn't slow down. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ryan's face twisted with rage, heard his voice pounding against the door, felt the vibration of his fists against the wood. There was a time she would have run to him, apologized even when she wasn't wrong, tried to soothe him, calm him, patch whatever anger he carried. Not anymore, but even strength came with a cost. Her body felt heavy the next morning when she dragged herself out of bed, hair tangled, heart still thudding with leftover panic. When she stepped into the living room, Marcus was already up, showered, dressed, leaning against the counter with 2 travel mugs of coffee. He looked up instantly. How'd you sleep? I didn't, she admitted. He handed her a mug. This will help. Maybe. She hugged the mug between her palms, letting the heat seep into her fingers. It helped a little. Not enough, but enough to move. Detective Hartwell called earlier, Marcus said. They transferred Ryan to the downtown precinct overnight. They'll want your full statement today. Elena nodded. She had expected this, but hearing it made her stomach knot. And your grandmother, Marcus asked gently, I need to go see her first. Elena whispered, Then we'll go. Elena asked, meeting his eyes. Marcus looked at her steadily. You're not facing today alone. Something inside her loosened, a thread of tension untwisting. She didn't argue. Grady Memorial felt different today, heavier, as though everyone who walked through the front doors carried their own burden of grief. When they reached the ICU, Dr. Stone greeted them with a tired smile. Elena, she said, we were just about to call you. Your grandmother's condition has stabilized enough that we're moving her to a step-down unit. Relief washed over Elena so fast, her eyes stung. She's okay. She's still weak, doctor, Stone said honestly, but she's out of immediate danger. Marcus squeezed her shoulder. They followed the doctor into a quieter wing of the hospital. When Elena stepped into the new room, she saw Grandma Louise resting on the bed, eyes closed, looking less pale than the night before. Elena approached slowly. Grandma. The old woman's eyes fluttered open. She focused, then smiled faintly. There's my girl. Elena sat beside her, careful not to jostle the bed. How are you feeling? Like someone let a truck run me over and backed it up for good measure, Louise muttered. But I'm still here. That's what matters. Elena laughed through her tears. You scared me. Louise reached weakly for her hand. I scared myself. There was a pause, heavy, but not painful. Louise studied her granddaughter's face. He came to the house looking for me, didn't he? Elena's breath caught. Yes. Louise nodded slowly. I heard the raised voices. The police? I wasn't asleep the whole time. Elena blinked. Grandma, I know more than you think. Child, Louise whispered. You don't live 83 years without learning how to listen through a door, despite everything. Elena smiled, but Louise's expression turned serious. Elena, I want you to hear me. Her voice, though soft, carried a lifetime of weight. What he tried to do isn't your fault. What he did to you these past 12 years isn't your fault. Loving someone doesn't make you foolish, but staying with someone who would kill your only remaining family, that would destroy you. Elena felt the words carve deep. I'm not going back, she said, voice steady for the first time in days. Not ever. Good, Louise whispered. I raised you to be strong. Now it's time you believed it. Elena bowed her head and pressed her forehead to her grandmother's hand. When she pulled back, Louise's gaze shifted toward Marcus, who had stepped quietly inside the doorway, unwilling to intrude. And who is this fine gentleman? Louise asked with a hint of mischief. Elena startled. Grandma Marcus cleared his throat, suddenly a little shy. Ma'am, I'm Marcus, friend of Elena's. Louise raised a brow. Friend? Handsome one at that. Grandma Louise chuckled. Old doesn't mean blind. Child. Marcus turned a shade of red Elena had never seen on him. She felt heat rise in her own cheeks, but a warmth, gentle and unexpected, settled somewhere deeper. Before she could respond, Dr. Stone returned. Elena, we need you to sign some paperwork, and then you should head to the precinct. Louise squeezed her hand one last time. Go on, baby. Finish this. Elena nodded. I'll come back later. I promise. The precinct felt colder than yesterday. Detective Hartwell led Elena and Marcus into a small interview room. Fluorescent lighting made everything sharper, more unforgiving. A camera blinked in the corner. Elena, the detective said as he sat, this is formal. Once we begin, everything you say will be part of the official investigation. I understand. He clicked on the recorder. For the next hour, Elena repeated everything again and again and again. The overheard conversation, the manipulation, the medication, the threats, the texts from the unknown number, the pounding on Marcus's door the night before. She didn't sugarcoat anything. She didn't flinch. She didn't wobble. By the time she finished, her voice was hoarse. Hartwell nodded. Your statement is strong and clear. Combined with the toxicology and Ms. Carter's testimony, this case is no longer just suspicion. It's actionable. Elena exhaled slowly. Where is he now? She asked. Hartwell sighed. In holding. He's been yelling for a lawyer since he came in. Typical Ryan. We'll file charges in the next 24 hours, the detective continued. Attempted homicide carries serious weight. Elena nodded, but her hands were trembling. Marcus placed his hand over hers under the table, steadying, grounding. When the detective dismissed them, Elena felt drained, but lighter, like something had been removed from her chest. Not all of it, but enough to breathe. As they exited the precinct, Marcus asked softly, You want to go straight back to my place? Elena shook her head. There's something I need to do first. What? She looked at the skyline, a city that had witnessed her heartbreak, her fear, her humiliation. But now, maybe, something new. I want to see my grandmother's attorney. I want to protect the brownstone. And I want to start the divorce paperwork. Marcus nodded. Then that's what we'll do, he said. One step at a time. Elena inhaled deeply. For the first time in 12 years, She wasn't walking towards something Ryan wanted. She was walking towards something she chose. Elena expected the law office to feel intimidating, cold, stiff, the kind of place where clients whispered and lawyers stared over the rims of expensive glasses. But Carter and Wells, attorneys at law, located in a renovated historic building downtown, felt warm, quiet lighting, soft jazz playing in the lobby, calm colors, almost comforting. A young receptionist greeted them with a smile. "Ms. Carter Attorney Wells is expecting you." Elena nodded, gripping her folder of documents so tightly the edges bent. Marcus walked behind her like a silent guardian, his presence grounding her every step. They were led into a private office lined wall to wall with bookshelves. Attorney Helen Wells' mid-50s, sharp suit, sharper eyes stood from behind her polished desk. "Elena," she said warmly, extending her hand. "I'm glad you came in. I've known your grandmother for 20 years. She speaks highly of you." Elena's throat tightened. "I should have visited her more." Wells squeezed her hand gently. "She knew you were trying your best. Please sit." Elena and Marcus sat across from her. Wells opened a thick folder. "I received a call from Louise's doctor this morning. She asked me to get started on updating her directives. But before we do that, she also asked me to speak with you about protection of her assets." Elena nodded, nerves humming. "Yes. That's why I'm here." Wells adjusted her glasses. "Your grandmother told me she suspects your husband, Ryan Hale, may have tried to harm her. And from what she described, it appears he has intentions toward her property." Elena swallowed. He planned to put her in a nursing home to accelerate. The inheritance. Wells's expression didn't change, but her eyes did, turning sharp, focused. "Then we need to lodge an emergency protection order over the brownstone. That prevents any outside party, including spouses of heirs, from making claims or manipulating her into signing anything." Elena blinked. "We can do that." "Yes," Wells confirmed. "And I already drafted the paperwork this morning." Elena stared, overwhelmed. "Thank you." "I'm not done," Wells said, leaning forward. "Your grandmother also instructed me to begin the process of transferring the deed into a trust under your name." Elena's breath caught. "What?" "No. She doesn't have to." "She insisted." Wells said firmly, "She fears for your safety, and she wants to ensure the home your great-grandfather built stays protected." Emotions surged through Elena so fiercely she had to look away. Marcus placed a steady hand on her back. She didn't move away this time. Wells continued, professional but kind. "Now, about your marriage. You want to initiate divorce proceedings." "Yes," Elena said, stronger this time. "Immediately." Wells opened another folder. "Good. Before we file, I need to explain something important. Georgia is an equitable distribution state. That means marital assets are divided fairly, but not necessarily 50-50. Elena tensed. "And the condo." "In both your names," Wells said. "He's entitled to half. But given the criminal charges pending against him, there's a strong likelihood the court will side with you if we can show financial abuse or manipulation." Marcus leaned forward slightly. "He used her for 12 years, and he tried to kill her grandmother." Wells nodded. "That will all factor into the divorce." Then she asked, "Has he tried contacting you?" Elena exhaled shakily. "Yes, multiple times, from different numbers. Then he showed up at Marcus's house last night." Wells paused. "Did he threaten you verbally?" "Yes." "Good," the attorney said. Elena's eyebrow shot up. "Good. We can use that." Wells clarified it. "Threats strengthen your case for a protective order. I'll file one today." Elena nodded, feeling more secure by the minute. Then came Wells's next question, unexpected. Sharp. Elena, do you have access to your joint bank accounts? Elena blinked. Yes. Why? Wells tapped her pen thoughtfully. Because men like Ryan tend to drain accounts the moment they feel cornered. With criminal charges pending, his world is crumbling. That makes him unpredictable. Marcus's brow furrowed. What should she do? Withdraw half, Wells said calmly. The portion legally hers. Move it to a private account immediately. Elena's stomach sank. She hated the idea. But she also remembered how Ryan had laughed with Brittany about her being the idiot who'd fold. Not anymore. I'll do it, Elena said softly. Wells nodded approvingly. Good. Once your finances are protected, and once the order on the brownstone is finalized, Ryan won't have leverage over you? Elena inhaled deeply. Thank you for everything. That's what I'm here for, the attorney said with a warm yet firm tone. Just remember, this isn't your shame. This is your survival. After leaving the law office, Elena and Marcus walked silently to the car. Atlanta's afternoon sun shimmered against the buildings, but everything felt muted after what they'd just discussed. Elena finally spoke. I feel like my whole life was built on sand. Every time I touch something, another part collapses. Marcus unlocked the car and turned to her. Elena, everything collapsing isn't always bad. She frowned slightly. It clears space, he continued softly, for something real. Elena opened her mouth to respond, something tender rising unexpectedly, but her phone buzzed. She froze. The screen showed a notification from her bank, alert withdrawal attempt of $7,500 from joint checking account. Her blood ran ice cold. Marcus's voice hardened. Let me see. She handed him the phone. He read it, jaw clenching with fury. He's trying to drain it already. Another notification popped up. Alert transfer attempt flagged for review. Marcus exhaled sharply. He's desperate. But a third message came, this one from an unsaved number. Elena's heart dropped. Unknown. You think you're safe. You think running to your boyfriend changes anything. You're still my wife. And you're going to regret this. Her hands trembled. Marcus took the phone before she could react, his voice low and deadly calm. We're going straight to the precinct, and we're showing them this. But before they reached the car, Elena's phone buzzed one more time, this time a voicemail. From the hospital. She opened it with trembling fingers. A nurse's voice came through the speaker. Ms. Carter, please call us as soon as you can. It's about your grandmother. There's been a development. Marcus looked at her, tense. Elena, what happened? Her voice cracked. I don't know yet. But her heart knew. The world had shifted again, and not in a way she wanted. Elena's fingers were stiff around the phone as the voicemail ended. The nurse's tone, it wasn't panicked, but it wasn't routine either. It was the kind of voice medical staff used when they were trying not to alarm someone too quickly. Elena? Marcus stepped closer, steady but clearly bracing for the worst. Call them back. She nodded, but her hands shook so badly she couldn't hit the numbers. Marcus gently took the phone, dialed the hospital, then handed it back so she could speak. Grady Memorial. How may I direct your... This is Elena Carter. I received a message about my grandmother. Louise Carter. Please, what happened? One moment, ma'am. Let me transfer you to the attending nurse. A few seconds, too long. Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. Finally, Ms. Carter. This is Nurse Hollings. Your grandmother is stable. She's okay. A hard breath escaped Elena's lungs. But The nurse continued. She became extremely agitated. She tried to get out of bed. She kept saying someone was coming for her. We had to call security when a man attempted to enter the ICU asking for her by name. Elena froze. What man? We don't know. He wasn't on the visitor list. He said he was family, but refused to give a name when asked. He insisted he needed to speak with her urgently. Marcus's jaw clenched. Ryan. Elena felt her pulse spike in her throat. What happened to him? He left the unit before security could detain him. But he didn't get into her room? We've increased her restrictions. Only you and approved staff can enter. Elena swallowed. Thank you. I'll come right away. When the call ended, she leaned against the side of the car, breath shallow. He went to the hospital, she whispered. He tried to get to her. Marcus's voice darkened. He's escalating. Fast. Elena pressed her shaking hands to her face. He shouldn't even be out. Detective Hartwell said he was still in holding. Maybe they released him pending charges, Marcus said quietly. Or he posted bond. Either way, we're going to fix this. How? Elena asked helplessly. First, we go to the hospital. Then we go straight back to the police, and they will take this seriously. He cupped her shoulders, watching, steadying her. We're not running, we're not hiding. You hear me? You're not alone in this. She nodded weakly, but she nodded. The drive to the hospital felt like moving through thick fog. Elena kept replaying the nurse's words. He insisted he was family. He refused to give a name. She became extremely agitated. She pictured her grandmother frail, recovering, terrified, and Ryan outside her door. By the time they reached Grady, Elena was breathing too fast. Marcus noticed, slowed down, and placed a hand on her knee. You're safe, he reminded her softly. He won't touch her. Not while I'm here. She forced herself to inhale, then exhale, inside the hospital. Nurse Hollings met them at the nurses' station. Ms. Carter, she asked gently, your grandmother is resting now. But she was very frightened earlier. Elena clenched her jaw. Can I see her? Yes, but only you. Elena turned to Marcus. Wait for me. Please. His eyes softened. I'll be right here. When Elena entered the room, her grandmother stirred. Sweetheart Louise whispered, voice hoarse. Elena hurried to her side. Grandma, it's me. You're safe. Louise blinked slowly. Relief washed into her features. He came. I heard him in the hallway. I knew his voice. I knew it. Elena squeezed her hand. I know. They didn't let him in. Her grandmother's thin fingers trembled. He wants the house. He wants you alone. That boy. He's dangerous. Elena. I know. Elena whispered. I'm handling it. I promise you're safe. Louise nodded faintly, but her eyes searched Elena's face, seeing the tiredness, the fear under the surface. Elena, look at me. She lifted her chin. You walk away from him and don't look back. You hear me? He'll ruin you if you let him. A tear slipped down Elena's cheek. I'm not going back. I swear. Louise squeezed her hand with surprising strength. Good girl. They stayed like that for several minutes, holding hands, breathing together until the old woman drifted back into rest. Elena kissed her forehead and stepped out of the room, wiping her eyes. Marcus stood as soon as she emerged. How was she scared? Elena murmured. But safe. Good, he said gently. Now it's our turn. The precinct felt different this time, less like a building, more like a barricade. Detective Hartwell met them in the hallway, expression grave. "I got your message," he said. "Let's go to my office." They followed him inside. He shut the door. "Ryan Hale was released early this morning," the detective explained. "He posted bond through a private attorney. I'm not happy about it, but legally, it was allowed." Elena's stomach dropped. "And no one told me we were supposed to. But his release happened before shift change, and the notification system is slow. I'm sorry." Marcus crossed his arms. "He went to the hospital. He tried to get into her grandmother's room." Hartwell's eyes sharpened instantly. "Is that confirmed, Hess?" Elena said, "The nurse described him, and my grandmother recognized his voice." Hartwell sat back, the gears visibly turning. "That changes things." "Detective," Elena said, her voice cracking, "he's not going to stop. He's losing control. I'm scared something terrible will happen." Hartwell leaned forward, voice firm. "Then we're filing an emergency protective order today, and I'll push the DA to move him back into custody. If he violated boundaries already, we can argue he's a danger. Elena nodded, finally feeling the ground beneath her feet again. "We're also tagging your grandmother's room with additional security," the detective continued. "I'll have an officer stationed outside for the next 24 hours. Relief hit so hard her knees almost buckled. Marcus caught her arm. "Thank you," she whispered. Hartwell wasn't done. "And Elena." "We got the toxicology panels back." Her breath stalled. "There were trace amounts of a sedative in your grandmother's system," he said. "Something she wasn't prescribed." Elena's heart dropped. "So she was poisoned." Hartwell nodded grimly. "Yes. And this time, the evidence backs you." Tears blurred Elena's vision, not from grief, not from fear, from validation. 12 years of being doubted, dismissed, diminished. No more. "We're upgrading the charges to attempted homicide," Hartwell said. "By this time tomorrow, we'll have a warrant for his arrest." Elena wiped her face. Marcus took her hand without a word. Hartwell stood. "Elena, this is the beginning of the end for him." She nodded slowly. "No," she whispered. "This is the beginning of the beginning for me." Elena thought she would feel triumphant walking out of the precinct with the detective's words echoing behind her. Attempted homicide, evidence, warrant. But as the station doors closed behind them, she felt only exhaustion deep, bone-heavy exhaustion that came after too many days of adrenaline, sleepless fear, and a truth too sharp to forget. The late afternoon sun hit her face as she stepped outside. She blinked at it, almost startled by the warmth. Marcus walked beside her, watching her carefully. "You okay, no," she admitted. "But I think I'm finally steady." Marcus nodded as if he understood more than she said. They walked toward his car in silence, not awkward, just quiet, like they were crossing a thin bridge together. When they got in, Elena leaned her head back against the seat and closed her eyes. "I never thought my life could unravel this fast." Marcus glanced at her. "It didn't unravel. Elena, it revealed." She opened her eyes slowly. "You think there's a difference? There's a huge difference." He said, "Falling apart is when you lose everything. Revealing is when things finally show what they really were." Elena inhaled shakily. "I guess my marriage was never solid in the first place." Marcus didn't respond immediately. He turned the key, letting the engine run, then looked at her. "Elena, someone who plots to hurt your family for property. That's not a marriage, that's a con." She nodded, but her throat tightened. "I feel stupid," she admitted. 12 years. 12 years of lying beside someone who you trusted. Marcus finished softly. You loved. That's not stupid. That's human. Elena didn't answer. She watched the city through the windshield, traffic moving, people walking, life continuing as if her world hadn't just shifted on its axis. Finally, she whispered, can we just drive? Marcus didn't ask where. He simply shifted the car into gear and pulled into traffic. They drove without speaking for a while, past Midtown, past the Beltline, into quieter pockets of the city where old oak trees arched over the roads, like guardians watching from above. Eventually, Marcus pulled into a small overlook facing a lake. The water reflected the orange tint of the setting sun. Elena looked out at it, breathing more slowly now. I haven't been here in years, she murmured. I used to come here after my divorce, Marcus said, when I felt like I was losing my mind. She glanced at him, surprised. Why? Because the world felt too loud, he said, too chaotic. But water doesn't care about your problems. It keeps flowing, made mine feel less permanent. Elena hugged her arms around herself. Nothing feels permanent anymore. Good, he said gently. She shot him a confused look. He smiled slightly. If nothing is permanent, then your pain isn't either. Something inside her chest loosened. She didn't cry, didn't break. She simply let the words settle where they needed to. They sat like that for a long moment. Then Marcus asked quietly, Elena, what do you want? The question hit her harder than any others today. Not what happened. Not are you okay, not what now, but what do you want? Because for 12 years, she had never asked herself that. Elena stared at the lake. I want peace, she said slowly. I want to sleep without feeling fear in my chest. I want my grandmother safe. I want my home, wherever it ends up being, to feel like a place I'm not walking on eggshells. Marcus nodded, and he asked softly. She hesitated. And I want my life back. Marcus's voice was warm. You will have it. Elena swallowed. I hope so. No, he corrected gently. You don't hope. You build it. A soft breeze moved through her hair, and for the first time in days, she felt her lungs expand fully. She whispered, almost too quiet, Thank you, Marcus. He didn't respond, not in words, but he placed his hand over hers, warm and steady. She didn't pull away. When they pulled back into the city, dusk had settled. The hospital lights glowed faintly in the distance, like a beacon. Elena checked her phone, several missed calls from an unknown number, all ignored. A text from Detective Hartwell. Stay somewhere safe tonight. She nodded to herself. She would. Marcus parked in front of his townhouse, then turned to her. You ready? Elena exhaled. I think so. Marcus helped her carry her small suitcase, the one she packed in a hurry while confronting Ryan into his guest room. The space was simple, warped, nothing like the cold condo she'd shared with Ryan. And there, curled up on the bed like the world belonged to him, was Marcus's cat, Lord Marshmallow, a fluffy orange menace with a personality twice his size. When Marshmallow lifted his head and blinked at her, Elena let out the first genuine laugh she'd had in days. He's supposed to be mean, Marcus warned. Marshmallow immediately walked over and headbutted her hand. Elena laughed again. Traitor. Marcus leaned against the doorframe, smiling a real smile, watching her soften for the first time since everything began. For a moment, the room felt peaceful, safe. But then, a thundering knock on the front door shattered it. Marcus stiffened. Elena's breath vanished. Another knock. Harder. Then a male voice. Thick with anger, Elena opened the door. Her blood froze. Ryan, how did he find them? Marcus's eyes darkened. Stay here. Lock the door. No, Marcus, Elena, he said firmly. Trust me. She backed away as he stepped into the hallway. Her heart pounded so violently she could hear it in her ears. She pressed her ear to the guest room door. Open up! Ryan roared from the porch. Marcus's voice came low and sharp. Get off my property. Ryan! You think she's staying with you? Ryan bellowed. She's my wife. I'm taking her home. Elena flinched. No, Marcus said, voice steady. You're not. There was a tense silence, then Ryan snarled. You think you can hide her? I will burn your whole life down if I have to. Elena's breath hitched. Then a new voice cut through everything. Atlanta, please step away from the door. Footsteps, movement, Ryan cursing. Elena opened the guest room door a crack, trembling. Blue lights flashed through the curtains. 2 officers tackled Ryan at the porch stairs as he fought like a man possessed. Marcus turned toward her, relief breaking through his tense expression. It's over for tonight, he said softly. He won't get near you again. Elena didn't speak. She simply stepped forward, and Marcus caught her before her legs gave out. For the first time since the nightmare began, she let herself collapse into someone's arms, not in weakness, but in release. Because finally, she wasn't fighting alone. Ryan's second arrest happened fast, sirens cutting through the quiet neighborhood, blue and red lights flickering against Marcus's house, officers shouting commands. But for Elena, everything moved in slow motion. She watched from behind the cracked guest room door as officers pulled Ryan off the porch and forced his arms behind his back. His eyes were wild bloodshot, furious, unhinged. Elena, he screamed when he caught sight of her silhouette. You think this changes anything? You're my wife, you hear me? Mine. Elena, close the door, Marcus said firmly, stepping in front of her before she could react. She shut it with trembling hands. Ryan's voice continued outside, muffled but still venomous, until one officer finally snapped, Hale, one more word and we'll add resisting and harassment to your charges. A car door slammed. Silence finally fell. When Marcus returned, Elena stood frozen at the foot of the bed, her hands pressed to her mouth. It's over. For tonight, he said gently. He didn't move closer. Waiting for her to come back to herself, Elena let out a shaky breath. How did they get here so fast? I texted Detective Hartwell when Ryan first banged on the door. Marcus explained. He knew Ryan violated the emergency conditions. They were already on their way. So they'll keep him this time, Elena whispered. Marcus nodded. For longer, yes. And with the updated charges, the DA has enough grounds to revoke his bond entirely. Elena felt her legs weaken. She sank onto the edge of the bed. I can't believe this is my life, she whispered. I can't believe he was willing to destroy everything. Marcus sat in the armchair across from her, giving her space but not distance. Toxic men don't handle losing control well. And Ryan lost control of you. That's why he's spiraling. But I didn't do anything wrong, Elena said softly, mostly to herself. I just wanted a normal marriage. I just wanted to be loved. Marcus's voice softened. Wanting to be loved isn't a sin. Elena, loving the wrong man isn't a crime. Staying silent while he hurts you, that would have been the tragedy. But you didn't stay silent. Her eyes filled with tears she fought to hold back. I'm tired of crying, she choked out. Then don't cry, Marcus said gently. Not for him. She laughed through the tears, a painful, broken sound. Marcus, can I stay here at least until everything settles? You stay as long as you need. He answered immediately. The door stays locked. Security stays on high, and you stay safe. Something in her finally released. The next morning came with soft sunlight filtering through the blinds and the heavy scent of coffee drifting into the room. Elena woke to quiet real, peaceful quiet. Not tension, not fear. For a moment she didn't move. She listened. No yelling, no footsteps pacing angrily, no slammed doors, just warmth. She stood, washed her face, and walked into the kitchen. Marcus stood by the stove, flipping something in a pan. Lord Marshmallow sat on the counter like a king watching over his chef. "You're up," Marcus said, giving her a small smile. "I made breakfast." Elena blinked. "You cook." "I try," he said. "Results vary." He placed a plate in front of her: eggs, toast, and fruit arranged neatly, like he cared how it looked. "No one has made me breakfast in years," she said without thinking. Marcus's movements paused. "Then I guess it's overdue." Her eyes trembled, but she smiled. They ate quietly, comfortably. Afterward, Marcus slid a folder across the table. "What's this? I organized your paperwork," he said. "For your bank, for the trust transfer, for the divorce filing. Thought it might help?" Elena opened it neat. Color-coded tabs, highlighted notes, everything laid out with clarity. "Marcus, how did you do all this?" "I didn't sleep much," he admitted. "Kept thinking of things you might need." Her heart pressed painfully against her ribs. No one had done this for her before. No one had stayed up out of care. No one had protected her without demanding something in return. No one had stood on her side simply because she deserved someone on her side. She shut the folder slowly. "Thank you. For everything." Marcus nodded, but didn't look at her. His jaw tightened, like he was holding something back. "Elena," he said quietly, "there's something I should tell you." She felt her chest tighten. "What is it?" He exhaled. "When Ryan was banging on the door last night, I wasn't scared for myself. I was scared for you, more than I expected." More than a sharp knock at the front door cut him off. They both froze. Marcus stood instantly. "Stay here." Her pulse spiked. "Marcus." "It might be Hartwell," he said. Reaching for the small hallway camera monitor, he checked it. Relief softened his shoulders. "It's Detective Hartwell." Elena exhaled. When Marcus opened the door, Hartwell stepped inside, expression serious but not tense. "Morning, Elena. I came with updates." She stood in the living room, clutching her arm. "Is he in custody?" Hartwell nodded. "Yes. And this time, he's not getting out. The DA approved a motion to revoke his bond. He'll remain detained until trial." Elena sagged onto the couch, covering her mouth with her hand. Hartwell continued. "We also obtained a warrant to search your shared condo. We're looking for evidence of sedatives, financial manipulation, and any documentation related to the nursing home plan." Elena nodded, numb but grateful. "And lastly," the detective added, "someone filed an anonymous tip with our office this morning." Elena frowned. About what? Hartwell held up a sealed plastic bag. Inside it was a small brown envelope. "Inside this envelope," he said carefully, "is a phone, a burner, registered to no one, containing all of Ryan's call logs and text messages with a woman named Brittany Cole." Elena stiffened. Marcus straightened. "His mistress." "Exactly," Hartwell said. "But here's the strange part. The tip didn't come from Brittany or anyone connected to Ryan. Then, "Who?" Elena whispered. Hartwell handed her the envelope. "You'll want to read the note that came with it." Elena's fingers shook as she unfolded the small slip of paper. The handwriting was shaky, but unmistakable. "He came for me once. He will not come again. Protect my granddaughter. Louise Carter." Elena gasped. Marcus stepped closer. "Elena, she turned him in." Elena covered her mouth, tears streaming. Her grandmother sick, frail, barely recovering, had still found the strength to protect her, even from her hospital bed. Hartwell's voice gentled. "Your grandmother is a fighter. Strong woman. Strong bloodline." Elena nodded, sobbing quietly. Marcus placed his hand on her back, and for the first time in days, the tears weren't fear. They were something else. Something new. Freedom. Relief. And the beginning of healing. Elena sat on Marcus's couch long after Detective Hartwell left, the little slip of paper still trembling between her fingers. Her grandmother's handwriting, shaky but fierce, burned into her vision. Protect my granddaughter. The weight of that love, that protection, pressed hard against her chest. Her grandmother had always been tough, stubborn, impossible to argue with, but Elena had never imagined she would gather enough strength in her hospital bed, weak, recovering to expose Ryan herself. "Elena," Marcus said gently from beside her, "you should rest." She shook her head. "I need to see her." Marcus didn't argue. "Then let's go." The hospital corridors felt less suffocating this time, as if knowing Ryan was behind bars for good gave the air more room. Elena walked faster than she expected, practically pulling Marcus with her toward room 412. When she entered, Louise was sitting up slightly, a blanket over her lap, her silver hair combed neatly. She looked fragile, but her eyes were sharp, alive. "Grandma," Elena breathed. Louise lifted her chin. "Did you get my package?" Elena's throat tightened. "You? How did you even get that phone? How did you get someone to deliver it?" Louise waved her hand dismissively. "You think just because I'm old? I don't know how to plan things." "Ryan is not the first fool I've handled." Marcus chuckled softly from behind Elena, but his expression softened with respect. Elena sat on the edge of the bed. "Grandma, you shouldn't have stressed yourself. Your heart." "My heart has survived 83 years of trouble." Louise cut in. "It can survive one more snake." Elena couldn't help it. She leaned in and hugged her grandmother gently. Louise stiffened for a moment. She had never been a soft, cuddly woman, but then her hands lifted and patted Elena's back. "You did good, me girl," she whispered. "You finally stood up for yourself." Elena pulled back, eyes glassy. "I should have sooner." Louise frowned. "No, you acted when you saw the truth. Don't waste time blaming yourself." Marcus nodded behind her. "She's right." Louise didn't acknowledge him directly, but Elena saw the way her grandmother's eyes flicked toward him, judging, evaluating, measuring. Then, unexpectedly, "You, boy, come closer." Marcus blinked. "Me, unless there's another tall man standing in my doorway." He stepped forward. Louise narrowed her eyes. "You care for my granddaughter." It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Marcus swallowed. "Yes, ma'am, I do." Louise studied him for a long, uncomfortable moment. Elena held her breath. Finally, the old woman grunted. "Good. Elena deserves someone who stands on her side, not on her neck." Grandma Elena whispered, mortified. "What, I'm old. I can say what I want." Marcus hid a smile, saying, But Elena saw it. Louise lowered her voice. Elena, there's something more. Elena tensed. What is it? Louise took her hand. I spoke with Attorney Wells this morning, and I'm changing my will. Elena felt her stomach twist. Grandma, I don't care about hush. Louise squeezed her fingers. Despite her frailty, the grip was strong. You're not inheriting the brownstone. Elena blinked. I'm not. No, Louise said. Because you're not fighting this battle alone, and because a home shouldn't be divided by divorce settlements or greedy men. Elena felt confusion rising. Then Louise looked straight at Marcus. His eyes widened. I'm putting the house, she said clearly, into a trust for both of you. Elena froze. Marcus froze harder. Grandma. What? Elena whispered. You two will manage the property, Louise continued. Together, as joint trustees. That way no man, no ex-husband, no random relative can ever touch it. And Elena won't be alone handling what's coming. Mrs. Carter, Marcus said quickly. I shouldn't. Louise cut him off. Do you plan to hurt my granddaughter? No. Ma'am, he said immediately. Do you plan to leave her in danger? Never. Do you plan to steal her money? No. Then you're already better than the last man in her life. Elena felt tears sting her eyes. Grandma, are you sure? Louise's voice softened. Not gentle, but solid. I'm old. Elena, I don't know how many years I have left. I want to leave knowing you have someone in your corner. Elena leaned forward, forehead against her grandmother's hand. I do have someone. I have you. Louise brushed her hair softly. And soon, you'll have more than that. After the visit, Elena stepped outside into the crisp afternoon wind. Marcus held the door open for her, but she paused on the sidewalk, staring at the sky. Elena, he asked softly. She turned to him. She trusts you. Marcus's voice softened. I'm honored, but I don't want you to feel pressured by anything she said. I don't, Elena whispered. I didn't expect any of this. He stepped closer. You've been fighting alone for a long time. Let people be on your side now. You deserve that. She swallowed. Marcus, why are you helping me this much? He looked at her with a quiet honesty that made her chest ache. Because you matter, he said simply. Because you're strong. And because someone should have protected you a long time ago. Elena felt her heart thud painfully once, twice. Before she could speak, her phone buzzed. A message from Detective Hartwell. Elena, the DA set a preliminary hearing for Ryan tomorrow morning. You'll want to be present. She stared at the screen. Marcus watched her carefully. You okay? Elena inhaled. Yes, she said, with new steadiness. I want to face him in court. Marcus nodded. Then I'll be right beside you. For the first time. She didn't say no. She didn't push him away. She didn't apologize for needing someone. She simply said, Thank you. And for the first time since her life imploded, Elena felt something unfamiliar settle inside her. Not fear, not regret, not shame. Something small, tender, and impossibly hopeful. A beginning. The Fulton County Courthouse looked colder than Elena remembered. Tall stone pillars, heavy oak doors. A building that felt like it judged you before any judge ever did. Elena stood at the bottom of the courthouse steps, staring up. She wasn't shaking, but she felt hollow in a strange way, like her nerves had burned out over the past few days, leaving a quiet, eerie calm behind. Marcus placed a hand lightly on her back. "You ready?" "No," she answered honestly. "But I'm going in anyway." Attorney Helen Wells met them at the entrance, crisp charcoal suit, leather briefcase, hair pinned tight, the kind of woman who looked like she ate courtrooms for breakfast. "Elena," she greeted with a nod. "Today is not a trial. It's a preliminary hearing, but Ryan will be present. I want you prepared for that." Elena inhaled slowly. "I want to see him." Wells's expression hardened approvingly. "Good. That will make you stronger, not weaker." They walked through security. Elena's palms sweated when she emptied her pockets into the bin. Marcus stayed close, silent but steady. Up the stairs, down the hallway, into courtroom 3B, inside. The air smelled faintly of old paper and disinfectant. Reporters lingered near the back row, keyboard vultures waiting for a story. A few camera lenses lifted, recognizing Elena from the police press briefing the night before. Then, a heavy thud, handcuffs rattling. Ryan Hale was escorted in through the side door. Elena's breath caught. He looked different already. Disheveled, angry, eyes sunken from a night behind bars, his wrists locked in steel. He spotted her instantly and stiffened his entire expression, twisting. "Elena," he hissed. 2 deputies shoved him forward. Wells leaned toward her. "Don't engage. Don't look at him unless you want to. You're not here to satisfy him." But Elena did look. She looked straight at Ryan, and Ryan glared back. But something flickered behind the rage desperation. Fear. A crack in the armor he'd worn for 12 years. Good. Let him finally know fear. The judge entered. Everyone rose. Proceedings began. State of Georgia versus Ryan Hale. The clerk announced. The DA's representative stood. "Your Honor, the state is seeking to deny bond permanently and move forward with charges of attempted homicide, fraud, coercion, and aggravated harassment." Ryan's attorney, a slick man in a too shiny suit, objected immediately. "Your Honor, my client is being railroaded. He has no history of violence. This is a misunderstanding between spouses, nothing more." Elena clenched her jaw. Wells rose slowly. "Your Honor, the victim's testimony contradicts that entirely. We have evidence hospital toxicology reports indicating sedatives not prescribed, threatening messages, attempts to break into a private residence." And Ryan snarled suddenly, jerking forward. "She's lying. She's twisting everything, Mr. Hale," the judge snapped. "Sit down, or I will have you removed." Ryan dropped into his seat, but the fury on his face didn't fade. Wells continued calmly, and the most compelling evidence a burner phone delivered to police containing months of communications between Mr. Hale and Miss Brittany Cole, in which they discussed placing Ms. Carter's grandmother in a nursing facility with a high mortality rate. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Ryan's face drained of color. The judge lifted the file. "I have reviewed these messages, including one where Mr. Hale writes," she lowered her glasses, "once the old woman is out of the picture, the West End house is ours." Elena's stomach twisted. Ryan's attorney jumped up. "Those texts could be fabricated." "They're not," Wells said smoothly. "The phone was recovered and authenticated, and delivered by Elena's grandmother herself." The courtroom buzzed again. Ryan's face contorted. "That old witch, Mr. Hale," the judge barked. But Elena noticed something else. Something small. Something ugly. Ryan didn't look shocked that the phone existed. He didn't deny it. He only reacted to the betrayal of it being exposed. He wasn't worried about innocence. He was worried about getting caught. Wells caught Elena's eye, then returned to the judge. "Your Honor, The state has more evidence to corroborate Mr. Hale's intent. The grandmother's neighbor reported seeing Mr. Hale leaving the residence shortly before she collapsed and was hospitalized. Ryan slammed his cuffed fists onto the table. I didn't do anything. She's old. Old people get sick enough, the judge said coldly. You will remain silent unless spoken to. Ryan breathed hard, eyes darting wildly. Then he saw Elena, and something inside him snapped. He stood up so fast the deputies barely caught him. You think you're better than me, he roared. You think I'll let you ruin my life? Everything I did, everything was for us. Elena's blood ran cold, not because he shouted, but because of the raw truth behind his words. He believed it. Every manipulation, every lie, every threat, every step toward harming her grandmother. He believed it was justified. One of the deputies shoved him back down. The judge sighed heavily. I have seen enough. The defendant is a clear danger to the victim and the community. Bond is denied. We move forward with full criminal proceedings. She struck her gavel. Court adjourned. The room erupted in voices. But Elena didn't hear any of them, because Ryan, violent, furious, humiliated, was staring at her with a look she had never seen before. Not hatred, not desperation. A twisted, venomous grief. Elena, he whispered hoarsely, barely audible through the commotion. You were supposed to stand by me. You were supposed to be mine. She felt Marcus step beside her, a wall of calm. And in that moment, through the noise, the deputies, the lawyers, Elena realized something. Ryan wasn't mourning their marriage. He was mourning the control he lost, and he would have taken her whole world down with him if she'd let him. Wells touched Elena's arm. Let's go. You did remarkably well. Elena didn't speak until they stepped outside, the courthouse doors closing behind them. Then she inhaled, long and deep. It's over, she whispered. Marcus looked at her, eyes soft. Not the healing, but the danger. Yes, it's over. Elena nodded, tears finally falling not from fear, but relief. Then Wells's phone chimed. She checked it, paused, then looked up. Elena, your grandmother's hospital ran new tests. Something came back. Elena's heart stilled. Wells spoke carefully. The sedative in her blood wasn't from one dose. Elena blinked. What do you mean it was from repeated exposure? Wells said, meaning someone had been giving it to her for weeks. The world blurred. Marcus stepped closer, steadying her. Wells continued, voice grave. Elena, the poisoning didn't start yesterday. It started long before your grandmother collapsed. Elena's breath caught, and in that split second, the ground shifted beneath her again, because if Ryan had been doing this for weeks, there was something darker still waiting to be uncovered. Helen Wells's office felt colder than Elena remembered. Maybe it was the gray rain sliding down the windows, or maybe it was the weight of what was about to be revealed. Either way, the air inside felt heavy, suspended, waiting. Detective Hartwell arrived first, carrying a sealed evidence box and a thick folder under his arm. He looked tired, like he'd spent the morning sorting through things no one should ever have to see. He set everything gently on the table between them. We found more than we expected, he said. Elena swallowed. Marcus moved his chair closer to hers, close enough that she could feel his warmth through her sleeve. Wells sat across from them, glasses low on her nose, pen ready. Let's begin, the attorney said. Detective, walk us through every item. Hartwell opened the box. First came a small amber pill bottle. The label was ripped off, but fragments of a pharmacy sticker still clung to the side. This was hidden in the back of a drawer in the Hales condo. He explained, not prescribed to Mrs. Louise Carter. Not listed in any of her medical records. We cross-checked. And what is it, Elena asked, voice unsteady. A heart medication. Hartwell answered. One that, if misused, can mimic symptoms of a stroke or a sudden drop in heart rhythm. Elena's stomach twisted. Next, he placed a small plastic bag on the table. Inside were white tablets, crushed into powder. This, Hartwell continued, matches the compound found in your grandmother's toxicology report. Elena pressed a hand to her mouth. Marcus gently squeezed her other hand. Wells leaned forward. Dr. Stone said the exposure was not a one-time dose. No, Hartwell confirmed. She ran additional tests this morning. Based on metabolite levels, Mrs. Carter was given small amounts of the drug over weeks, possibly months. The words punched through Elena's chest. Repeated exposure, she whispered. Hartwell nodded. This wasn't an impulsive attempt. It was a slow build. A pattern. Elena closed her eyes for a moment, remembering all the times her grandmother had mentioned feeling foggy or a little weak over the past few months. Times Elena dismissed as age. She felt sick. Next, Hartwell pulled out a second item, a stainless steel tea flask, sealed in an evidence bag. Elena recognized it instantly. That's Ryan's, she whispered. The one he brought to your grandmother's house the day she collapsed. Hartwell said, It tested positive for residue that matches the drug. Elena felt the floor beneath her shift. Her breath trembled. The bastard, Marcus muttered under his breath, but Hartwell wasn't done. He opened the folder next, spreading out papers, emails, bank statements, online orders, delivery receipts. These were recovered from the condo and from Ryan Hale's cloud backups. He didn't cover his tracks very well. Wells scanned the papers quickly. These online orders, they show multiple shipments of the same medication. Small doses, spaced out. Exactly, Hartwell said. He bought the drug through an online supplier using prepaid cards. Probably thought it couldn't be traced back to him. And the financial transfers, Wells asked. Hale has been quietly moving small amounts of money, $50 here, $100 there to a prepaid account linked to Brittany Cole. Elena felt cold sweep through her limbs. He paid her, she whispered. For involvement, Hartwell said. She told us earlier she only talked about the plan with him, but the transfers say otherwise. Wells's expression hardened. So she knew about the nursing facility plan. She admitted that much. Hartwell replied, but she's claiming she had no idea about the drug or the poisoning. Elena laughed weakly, a broken, bitter sound. She knew, maybe not all of it, but enough. Then the detective placed one more document down on the table. A witness statement. Elena recognized the name immediately. Miss Beatrice. She breathed. My grandmother's neighbor. Yes, Hartwell said. She reported seeing Ryan entering your grandmother's apartment multiple times while carrying small bags and something metallic, her words, over the last month. Elena covered her face with her hands. Oh my God. Oh my God. Marcus put an arm around her shoulders. You didn't know. You couldn't have known. But the truth still sliced deep. She had sat across from Ryan at dinner, slept beside him, trusted him. While he slowly poisoned the only family she had left, Hartwell wasn't finished. One more thing, he added quietly. Dr. Stone forwarded Mrs. Carter's updated records. 6 months ago, she came into the ER with chest discomfort, mild confusion. They didn't find a cause. Now, with these toxicology results, we believe she was already being dosed then. Elena's knees almost buckled. If she hadn't been sitting, she might have collapsed. Wells waited until Elena looked up again. Elena, she said softly, this is no longer a simple attempted homicide case. We have evidence of prolonged poisoning, financial motive, conspiracy with a third party, and fraud. Hartwell nodded. The DA wants to add charges: attempted murder, aggravated elder abuse, administration of harmful substances, conspiracy, financial coercion, and reckless endangerment. Elena's breath came in tiny, shallow pulls. He tried to kill her, she whispered. Not once, not twice, but over and over. Wells reached across the table and placed a hand over hers. And now we can prove it. That night, Elena and Marcus returned to his apartment. She sat on the edge of the sofa, turning the evidence in her mind like a shattered mirror, every shard cutting a new piece of the truth. Marcus set a glass of water in front of her. She didn't touch it. Elena, he said gently, nothing about this was your fault. She shook her head, tears finally falling. I slept next to him. Marcus, I trusted him. I defended him. You loved him. Marcus said, that isn't a crime. Elena cried harder. He sat beside her, letting her lean against him while her body shook. When she quieted, he said softly, tomorrow, Wells will file the expanded charges. After that, the case moves forward fast. You won't be doing any of this alone. Elena wiped her face. I want to be at Grandma's bedside first thing tomorrow. You will. Marcus promised. And she'll know she's safe. Elena nodded. But when she finally lay down in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, one realization echoed in her mind. Ryan hadn't just tried to destroy her grandmother. He had been destroying her family piece by piece, right under her nose. And tomorrow, she would make sure the world finally knew the full truth. Elena didn't sleep, not even for a minute. When the early sunlight finally broke through the blinds, she was already dressed, already pacing, already preparing herself for what she needed to hear and what she feared might break her. Marcus drove her to Grady Memorial Hospital in silence. He didn't push, didn't question. He simply let her breathe, let her think, let her brace. When they reached the ICU floor, Elena approached the nurse's station with a trembling voice. Elena Carter, she said, I'm here to see my grandmother, Louise Carter. The nurse checked her chart and nodded gently. She's awake, but she's still weak. Only one visitor at a time. Elena nodded and walked down the quiet hallway, each step echoing louder in her chest. When she reached room 412, she paused. Her hand hovered over the door handle. What if Grandma remembered everything? What if she didn't? What if the damage was worse than the doctors thought? She pushed the door open. Beep, beep, beep. The rhythmic sound of the heart monitor filled the room like a steady heartbeat. Grandma's eyes were half open, weary but alert. Her silver hair was brushed back, her lips were pale, but when she saw Elena, her whole face softened. My girl, she whispered. Elena ran to her side, tears immediately burning her eyes. Grandma. Oh God, Grandma. Louise squeezed her hand with surprising strength. You came, she whispered. Elena let out a trembling laugh. There was no force on earth that could have kept me away. Louise exhaled, closing her eyes briefly. I wasn't sure I'd ever see you again. Grandma, don't say that. Elena pleaded, You're still here, You're safe now. But Louise slowly shook her head. Elena, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you years ago. Elena froze, her grandmother's voice lowered to a whisper. This wasn't the first time someone tried to get to you through me. Elena's blood went cold. What do you mean? Louise swallowed, gathering strength. Your mother, before she passed, she warned me. She told me that if anything ever happened to her, I had to protect you, protect our home, protect the deed. What Elena breathed. Grandma, protect me from what Louise looked into her granddaughter's eyes, and for the first time, Elena saw real fear from people who wanted the house, the land, the inheritance. A shiver raced through Elena's spine. The West End brownstone, her great-grandfather's home, the property that Ryan obsessed over. Louise's voice cracked. Your mother found documents, people trying to manipulate her, trick her, pressure her into selling a portion of our land. She believes someone inside the family was involved. Elena's eyes widened. Inside the family, who Louise hesitated, and that hesitation hurt more than any answer. Your uncle, she whispered. Paul. Elena staggered back like she'd been slapped. Uncle Paul. He died when I was 11. He would never. He was involved with people who were manipulating him. Louise whispered. People who wanted property in our neighborhood before gentrification. Your mother stood up to them. And weeks later, she died in that car accident. The room spun. Grandma, are you saying I'm saying your mother didn't trust coincidences? Louise whispered. And neither have I since. Elena sat down heavily, her knees buckling. Her entire childhood reshaped itself in her mind, memories shifting like puzzle pieces, finding new places. Why didn't you tell me this? She whispered. I was trying to protect you. Louise answered, tears filling her eyes. But keeping it from you may have made you vulnerable to someone like Ryan. Elena shook her head, overwhelmed. Grandma, you think Ryan found out about the house, about the family history? Louise gripped her hand tighter. I think Ryan didn't just want the house because it was valuable, she said softly. I think he learned its history. I think he knew it was generational wealth, legacy, something that cannot be replaced. Elena's heart pounded, and he wanted to insert himself into it. Elena's breath hitched. She suddenly remembered something, a conversation from years ago, barely a whisper in her memory. She and Ryan, newly married, sitting in their small apartment. He asked about her mother's death. He asked about the brownstone, about the deed, about whether the title had been updated, about who her grandmother trusted. At the time, she thought he was just being caring. Now it made her skin crawl. Elena, Grandma whispered, pulling her back. There's more. Elena braced. Before your collapse at my house, Ryan asked me strange questions about where I kept important documents. He asked who had keys to my filing cabinet. He asked if the deed was still under my name or yours. Elena shut her eyes tightly, and when I didn't answer, Louise continued. He changed. He grew impatient, polite, then cold. Elena opened her eyes. He planned this, she whispered. All of it. Louise nodded weakly, and he wasn't working alone. A chill swept through Elena's entire body. Not Brittany, she whispered. No. Grandma said, someone else. Someone who told him about our house's real value. Someone who knew our family history. Elena's pulse thundered in her ears. Who? Grandma took a shaky breath. I don't know her name, but I know she visited your uncle years ago, and now she's connected to Ryan. Elena's head snapped up. A woman. Connected to her uncle. Connected to Ryan. Suddenly, a memory clicked. Brittany's face wasn't familiar, but another woman from the courthouse hallway was. A woman with sharp eyes and an expensive suit. A woman who had glared at Elena with recognition. Wells had whispered, that's Linda Shore, real estate consultant, known for predatory acquisitions. Elena's blood drained from her face. Grandma, she whispered. I think I know who she is. Louise squeezed her hand again. Then listen to me carefully. Yes, Grandma, you must finish this, Louise said. Finish what your mother started. Protect the house. Protect our name. Protect yourself. Elena's throat tightened. Her mother, her grandmother, her family's legacy, her own dignity, all targeted, all connected, all threatened by greed dressed as love. Elena leaned forward and kissed her grandmother's forehead. I will, she whispered. I promise I will finish this. And for the first time since the nightmare began, Elena felt something powerful ignite inside her chest. Not fear, not grief, but resolve. The kind of resolve that could shake courtrooms, reveal truth, and end a monster's hold once and for all. If you want, I can continue immediately with. By the time Elena arrived at Helen Wells's office the next morning, she was no longer trembling. She wasn't calm either. She was focused, sharpened. Steel where she had once been glass. Wells looked up from her desk the moment Elena stepped in. You found something, the attorney said, not a question, an observation. Yes, Elena replied. A name. Marcus closed the door behind them, arms crossed, staying close but not hovering. Elena took a seat, leaning forward. Grandma mentioned someone who visited my uncle years ago, someone he trusted but shouldn't have, someone who knew our family's property history better than anyone, and someone connected to Ryan. Wells raised an eyebrow. Continue. Elena took a breath. Linda Shore. For a moment, Wells said nothing. Then her eyes narrowed. I know that name, she muttered. Real estate acquisition specialist. Predatory, ruthless, has a reputation for exploiting distressed homeowners, especially elderly ones. That's her. Elena confirmed. She was at the courthouse during Ryan's hearing, watching. She looked at me like she knew everything about me, Marcus added quietly. She wasn't just observing. She was sizing Elena up. Wells stood abruptly, pacing behind her desk. This changes the landscape entirely, she said. If Shore's involved, we're not dealing with a domestic case anymore. This is a property acquisition conspiracy. These people have money, influence, a network, and a motive. Elena added, She wanted the house. My family's house. Wells nodded. And she likely used Ryan as the pawn, a pawn too arrogant to question he was being used. Elena exhaled slowly, fury rising like heat from pavement. Ryan thought he was the mastermind, but he was small, manipulated, and dangerous only because someone smarter fed him poison and promises. What do we do? Elena asked. Wells tapped her pen sharply on the desk. We expose Linda Shore. The next step unfolded quickly. Wells contacted the DA. Detective Hartwell joined the call. They agreed if Linda Shore was connected, they needed evidence, and evidence surfaced faster than anyone expected. 2 hours later, Hartwell called with an update that made Elena's scalp prickle. Elena, he said over speakerphone, we pulled phone records from Ryan's burner. A number he texted frequently didn't belong to Brittany. It belonged to Linda Shore. Elena felt Marcus tense beside her. She wasn't just advising him. Hartwell continued. She was directing him. Wells nodded grimly. The DA will want to bring her in for questioning. Hartwell paused. There's more. Shore's firm purchased 3 properties adjacent to your grandmother's block in the last 18 months. All elderly homeowners, all pressured into selling. One ended up in the hospital before signing. Elena's eyes widened. Hospital. From what symptoms similar to your grandmother's? Hartwell said. Unexplained dizziness, weakness, confusion. But that case was never investigated. The room went silent. Then Wells said the words that made Elena's skin crawl. This wasn't just a scheme, it may be part of a pattern. They arranged a formal meeting at the DA's office to prepare Elena for the expanded prosecution. The conference room was large, cold, lined with law books and framed case victories, a far cry from the suburban condo where she once made dinner for her husband and believed in fairy tales. The DA, a formidable woman with a brisk tone, sat across from Elena. "Elena," she said, "you are now a key witness in a conspiracy case, and possibly a larger investigation involving predatory real estate crimes." Elena nodded. "I'll do whatever it takes." The DA slid a file toward her. "We want you to look at these photos." Elena opened it. Her breath hitched. It was Ryan with Linda Shore. Not once, not twice, but in multiple locations, coffee shops, parking garages, even outside a law firm. Each meeting dated back to before he started poisoning Grandma. "Oh my God," Elena whispered. He knew her before the poisoning started. "Yes," the DA said. "That's the timeline we're building." Shore wasn't opportunistic, she groomed him. She fed him the idea, encouraged the financial stress narrative, possibly even orchestrated the affair with Brittany to destabilize his marriage. Elena's throat tightened. "Why to isolate you?" the DA said simply. "A lonely target is easier to manipulate." Elena closed the file, fingertips trembling. Wells leaned forward gently. "Elena, what you're seeing is the truth. Ryan was not just a greedy man, he was a willing instrument in someone else's strategy." Marcus's jaw clenched. "Tell us what comes next." The DA nodded. "In 2 days, we will have a preliminary evidentiary hearing. Ryan will be present, and Linda Shore will be subpoenaed for testimony." Elena swallowed. "Subpoenaed, yes. And if she refuses, a bench warrant will be issued," Wells added. "She won't expect that we have this much. She'll be caught off guard, which is exactly what we want." Elena exhaled shakily. She had faced Ryan. She could face Linda Shore, but there was something deeper beneath her fear, a fierce, rising determination. They had tried to break her family, to poison her grandmother, to take her home, to rewrite her history. And they had failed. Later that night, back at Marcus's apartment, Elena finally allowed herself to sit and breathe. Marcus placed a warm mug of tea in her hands. "You were strong today." Elena stared into the steam. "I don't feel strong, just tired." "Strength and tired often come together," he said. She looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, she allowed herself to see what had always been there. Steady hands, warm eyes, a shield when she needed one, a gentleness she had never known in her marriage. "Marcus," she whispered, "why are you still helping me?" He hesitated only for a second. "Because you deserve to be safe," he said quietly, "and because you were never meant to fight alone." Her breath caught, but before she could answer, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Elena looked down. "You think you've won. You don't know anything yet." Her heart dropped. Marcus saw her expression and took the phone. His eyes hardened. "Linda Shore," he said. The war had just become personal. The courthouse felt different this time. Not colder, not heavier, just final. As if the walls themselves understood that today, everything ended. Elena walked through the lobby with her shoulders squared, her grandmother's strength under her skin and her mother's voice echoing somewhere deep inside her chest. Marcus walked beside her, steady, silent, protective. At the top of the marble staircase, Helen Wells waited with a file tucked under her arm, thick, worn, the edges folded like a book that had been opened too many times. "Elena," she said, "I need you ready for anything today. Ryan, and Linda Shore will both be present. I'm ready, Elena answered. And oddly she was. The room buzzed with tension. The media had come. Reporters whispered. Camera shutters clicked. People who didn't know Elena at all watched her as though she were a headline, but she didn't care. Because the moment she walked in, she saw them. Ryan, handcuffed, hollow-eyed, desperate in a way that was almost feral, and next to him escorted by two deputies, Linda Shore. She looked polished, poised, untouchable. But Elena noticed the crack, a tremor in Shore's hand as she pushed her hair back, a faint tightening around her jaw. She wasn't invincible. Not anymore. When Shore's eyes met Elena's, they didn't show guilt. They showed annoyance, as if Elena were merely a roadblock she had underestimated. The judge entered. Everyone rose. The proceedings began. The DA stood. Your Honor, the state presents evidence of a conspiracy involving the defendant, Ryan Hale, and a third party, Linda Shore, whose actions contributed to a series of deliberate attempts to force the victim's family into surrendering valuable real estate. Shore's lawyer shot to her feet. Objection. My client is not on trial. The judge raised a hand. Ms. Shore has been subpoenaed. The court will hear the evidence. Wells leaned toward Elena, whispering. She didn't expect that. Good. Hartwell took the stand first. He presented pièces. Phone logs linking Ryan and Shore, surveillance photos, financial transfers, the burner phone texts, evidence of similar elder-targeted purchases in the West End. Each piece tightened the noose, but the courtroom erupted when the DA asked Detective Hartwell, is there a pattern among the victims? Hartwell nodded. Yes, elderly homeowners with historically significant properties. 3 victims have been hospitalized under suspicious circumstances. Gasps filled the room. Shore's composure cracked only for a blink, but Elena saw it. The judge turned. Ms. Shore, you will answer all questions presented to you. Shore's jaw hardened. I have nothing to say. That, Wells whispered, was the wrong answer. Her palms were damp. Her heart hammered. But when she raised her right hand and swore in, something inside her aligned. She told the truth. All of it. Her marriage. Her grandmother's collapse. The overheard conversation. The poisoning. The deception. The history of the brownstone. Her mother's warning years ago. She spoke softly, but the room was silent, every ear straining to catch her words. And when she was asked, do you see the person who attempted harm to your grandmother? She didn't look at Ryan first. She looked at Linda Shore. And Shore flinched. Then Elena turned her head, met Ryan's eyes, felt nothing for him, no fear, no anger, no grief, just truth. Yes, she said. He's sitting right there. Ryan jerked in his seat. A flash of something wild crossed his face, the realization that Elena was no longer his to intimidate, that she would never be again. After Elena stepped down, Ryan's attorney attempted to rehabilitate him. It failed. Ryan fidgeted, tugged at his cuffs. Sweat dripped down his temple. The DA pressed. Mr. Hale, did you repeatedly visit Mrs. Carter while purchasing a medication she was not prescribed? That's no. She was old. His voice broke. Did you speak with Ms. Shore about having access to the property after Mrs. Carter's passing? That's not. She's lying. You were photographed with Ms. Shore on multiple occasions. Ryan slammed his fist against the table. That wasn't about the house. It was. She told me she could fix everything. Silence. A ripple spread across the courtroom. The DA leaned in. Fix what? Mr. Hale Ryan's breathing quickened. His face twisted anger, panic, humiliation all colliding at once. My life. Then, pointing at Elena, he shouted. She was going to leave me. She had everything in the house, the money, the family name, and I had nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing. Elena felt the room tilt, not because of what he said, but because of the truth underneath it. His motive wasn't love, not desperation, not fear. It was entitlement. He believed her life should have belonged to him, and when he couldn't control her, he tried to destroy her roots, her family, her history, her grandmother. The courtroom erupted. The judge pounded her gavel repeatedly. Order, order. When the chaos settled, the judge turned to Linda Shore, Ms. Shore. In light of the testimony and evidence presented, the court orders you to answer this question directly. Did you knowingly participate in a coordinated effort to acquire the Carter property through unethical or illegal means? The room held its breath. Linda Shore lifted her chin. Then she smirked. A small, cold, arrogant smirk. I advised a client, she said carefully. If he chose to commit a crime, that is his responsibility, not mine. The judge stared at her. That one sentence was all the DA needed. Your Honor, the prosecutor said, we request an immediate motion to charge Ms. Shore with conspiracy, elder coercion, and intent to defraud. Shore's smirk vanished. What? She snapped. You can't, bailiff, the judge said calmly. Take Ms. Shore into custody, pending formal charges. The room exploded. Reporters scrambled. Someone gasped. Shore stood, face draining of color. You have no idea who you're dealing with, she screamed. I built this city. I made deals you can't even imagine. She was handcuffed mid-sentence. And for the first time, Elena felt air return to her lungs. It came hours later. Judge Rayner returned, voice steady. In the case of the state of Georgia versus Ryan Hale, the defendant is found guilty on all charges presented in this preliminary hearing, including attempted murder, aggravated elder abuse, conspiracy, and fraud. Ryan collapsed into his chair. Elena closed her eyes. The judge continued. Formal sentencing will occur next month. Until then, the defendant will remain in custody without bail. Ryan looked up at Elena, eyes full of something dark and broken. You ruined me, he whispered. Elena met his gaze silently. No, she said. You ruined yourself. When they stepped outside, sunlight hit Elena's face. Warm, bright, real. Marcus touched her shoulder gently. It's over. Elena breathed in deeply, a breath that reached her bones. Not everything, she said, but the part that could have killed my family. And what part comes next? Marcus asked. Elena looked at him, really looked at him. The part where I get my life back, she whispered. He smiled softly. And I'll be right here, for the first time in years. Elena believed it. The future wasn't a threat anymore. It was a beginning.